Better business internet is here. Blackfoot Communications delivers unrivaled reliability and dedicated bandwidth for businesses. And our fiber-based network is ready to meet your needs. Contact us today and ask about a free fiber build and new competitive pricing. Call 406-556-1700 or visit goblackfoot.com/connect. Connect to more with Blackfoot Communications.
Well, I appreciate you all coming on. I think when you look at that spring game and our initial thought going back to the end of February was that we hoped we could have an event. And I think beyond the play on the field, I think we had an event there, a great crowd. And you could feel the crowd. And I think that's what our guys needed, feel the crowd, the lights were on, all that stuff. Competitive game. I think when you have 8-minute quarters, that thing can fly pretty fast, but we kept the reps about what we wanted to. I'm really thankful to some of those defensive guys that got about every play in the scrimmage and fought their tails off. And, I think we get here to the end of the spring. We have a good sense of where we're at as a team. And then I think, individual players will meet with their coaches this week and get some real good feedback of where they're at relative to the depth chart, and what they need to do to get better this summer. We got 3 months now in front of us before we get and change, before we get going with fall camp. And there's a lot that can be accomplished and a lot that needs to. And I like the way this team is approaching their business, and we need to keep that going. So open it up for questions. Certainly, we'll release a depth chart on Monday. And Bill, I don't know if we'll get together again, but if we don't, I appreciate you guys' support of our program, or coverage of our program, I should say, throughout the spring.
Cool. Yeah, I'll touch base with you Monday, Coach.
Okay.
Colter Nuanez, why don't you lead us off today?
Hi, Brent. Fun day watching football. You mentioned the defensive front being a little bit shorthanded leading up to this thing. I thought the offensive line, particularly the blue team offensive line, looked good. But how do you go about evaluating that when you do have, a veteran group like your starting offensive front going against some younger guys? Because it seemed like you ran the ball well, but that's probably to be expected.
Yeah, I think you take that, but you take a measured approach to the success of that. I know what we'll do, and it's a little bit of a blessing without us all splitting up and going on the road recruiting really tomorrow, that we'll be able to dive into these cut-ups. And I think really analyze, certainly the scheme part of it, but really look at the individuals, really assess it. And I think within that, to your point, certainly measure who they were going against at times. I mean, there were still some defenders through the course of spring that could really test our guys and, be honest with that feedback. But I think, we said it from the start, that offensive line is a group that's got experience. It's a group that we need to be able to lean on. I think we have a good stable of running backs. You can see that, they bring a lot of different skills to the table. And I think that was evident today. I think, all 5 of those guys that will be in the mix, got a chance to showcase themselves at least a little bit today and throughout the spring. So pleased with our direction, but yeah, I think it's a measured evaluation that we have to take of where we're at.
You mentioned those running backs. I thought that the blue team running backs, Isaiah Fonse and Elijah Elliott, really complemented each other well. So how do you think those two guys complement each other?
Well, what's that old? It was Blanchard and Davis from the Army, Mr. Inside, right. Mr. Outside a little bit. I don't know. Isaiah, I think, is pretty complete. He can certainly run between the tackles, but I think he's got the speed to get on the edge. Elijah's game is a little bit more on the perimeter. And I think at his size, I think he can still get away with some runs in between the tackles, but they're certainly different. And I think they're the complement of plays that we can run with both. There's some overlap, but there's some difference. And I think the pace is a little bit different. So it's said that change of pace that is complicating for a defense at times when you can interchange some guys. And we certainly hope to get them involved in the pass game as well. And, I think they've shown some real, that they're real capable ball catchers as well. So, so pleased with where they're at. And I know it's, the other three guys, so talking Lane, Jahari, and Demarius, I will continue to work through, their roles and how they fit in the big picture. But to have depth at that position, football's a game that you need some depth, and running back's a position that, is as important as any to have, that next man up ability. And I think we have the capabilities of having that thought process.
You mentioned about 5 running backs right there, and your receivers I thought looked good too, especially the young guys. So what do you think of sort of this group of guys that are skill position guys that are young players for you that you and the staff have inherited? What do you think their potential is?
I think we have really good potential, but you kind of alluded to it. They're young and there's not a lot of experience, whether those guys came here in 2020 and haven't been on the field at all, 19, they may be redshirted, maybe saw a little action. I mean, it's a group of guys that have, that game experience is pretty limited, but the talent I do think is there. And you have some depth. So depth creates competition, with competition, you hope that pushes guys. And I think we have that ability at both positions to, just not to be relying on, just a couple guys. So like the direction we're heading, but, we certainly have a ways to go at the same time.
Just 2 more for me. One on the first possession for the Blue. I took a shot to McCutcheon and then took another shot up the sideline, but then had a 3rd and 10, and Isaiah converts it, and then basically just rode him all the way to the first touchdown. I think he had 75 yards rushing on that one drive. So, how much comfort does that give you when you do know you have a guy that, hey, when it really is time, you can just turn around and hand him the ball?
No, I think that running game is something that you need to have. That needs to be all weather, every day, and if you can lean on a running game, I think that's important to play consistent football. These spring games are complicated. I've called plays for a long time on these spring games, and you're trying to work in a smaller confines. I know, Matt not being live changes your dynamics with the quarterback run game, but, we were able to take some shots. I thought, that's certainly, going after guys like Lance and Jaden Smith. I think that's certainly going to be part of our game. I would have liked to see maybe one of those completed, but yeah, coming back and being able to hand that ball off to 22 is a pretty easy decision at times too.
And then last thing, when the White cut it to 14-10, then Blake Thielen was the guy that kind of sealed the deal. So what do you think of his operation there and being able to throw that late touchdown to Derek Snell?
Blake, obviously from Great Falls, he's been the guy that he just goes out there and can find a way to get things done, and he's young yet, redshirt freshman, but it was good to see him have that success. And I know that, that touchdown's on a 3rd and 1 where the defense really has to, sell out completely on the run to try to extend that, that opportunity to get the ball back. And, Derek got behind the defense. Blake made a nice throw and kind of sealed the game. But Blake, I think is, shown through the course of spring, while his reps have been limited, that, he's got a chance to play here.
John Miller, go ahead.
Hey, Coach, thanks for taking the time. I mean, one guy that was hard to miss was Daniel Hardy. What did you see from his game today? He seemed to be pretty disruptive.
Yeah, that's been an everyday affair for Danny. I think Daniel, he backed up 2 pretty good players going back to 19, backing up Troy and Amandre on the outside, standing up, doing all that. Was a lighter player. I think he was about 215. He's one of the guys that, caught my eye those very first workouts. He's 235 now. And he's a prototype defensive end with his hand down, in part because there's no quitting him. He has got a relentless motor to him. And, he's learning how to play that position kind of obviously on the fly here. But, the fact that he was able to remain healthy through the course of the spring and get all the reps he did, I think he can be a guy that can really be disruptive. And I know that showed up in front of everybody today.
And then if you could talk about what Jaden Smith brings to this offense, he looked pretty good those last couple of drives.
Yeah, Jaden, I think that combination of length and athleticism that you want at least a guy like that in your arsenal. Just the matchup alone with size against a corner typically is going to be in our favor. And I think that that sequence more than any time all spring, his ability to run after the catch was there too. And that was good to see. We play tag so much through the course of the spring, and breaking tackles isn't part of it. So at his size, to that point, I mean, he's got the ability to be physical too. And that's the part of his game as a young player. I think that'll continue to grow. But, that was a good capper. The last two practices today and Thursday, that's his last week in general. I guess Jaden's had a chance to make some plays and and he's going to be a big part of what we're trying to do.
And last one for me, Coach. Got to ask about Tommy Malott. He looked pretty impressive there on the last drive. I know it ended in a pick, but what did you see from him, and what impressed you about his game today?
Yeah, much like Blake, Tommy's a young player that the way we've practiced, I mean, has gotten some reps. He's a work in progress. It was, I was real glad Tommy, got that opportunity. I know he had a couple of short series, I think, before that, and Tommy certainly is learning, but has athleticism that is really, I think, puts him in a different place from a quarterback perspective. He's a really good runner, and that sequence there with that 2-minute drive is not one where you can lean on the quarterback run game. So he had to make some throws, and that's the thing that you can see it within his ability that's coming. It's something he's going to be able to do. And he's really smart and diligent and young. I mean, he's a true freshman this year. So, I know he was a big time player coming out of Butte and Gatorade Player of the Year, and we're thankful to have him. And I think he has a bright future.
Thanks, Coach.
Yep.
Better Business Internet is here. Blackfoot Communications delivers unrivaled reliability and dedicated bandwidth for businesses. And our fiber-based network is ready to meet your needs. Contact us today and ask about a free fiber build and new competitive pricing. Call 406-556-1700 or visit goblackfoot.com/connect. Connect to more with Blackfoot Communications.
Yep.
Eddie Messel, take us away.
All right. Thanks for taking some time, Coach. I know we talked a lot over the course of spring about the secondary. Obviously, some takeaway today too. So, talk a little bit about them and what you saw from them today.
Yeah, I've talked about talent and potential and all those things. And a couple things that I think showed up today. Tyrell Thomas was out there in kind of full fashion for the first time all spring. He's done some things. So I think Tyrell's back, and it was good to see that. It's evident that he's not only been a real key contributor. I think he can be a real good player for us. Miles Jackson, the kid that had that interception, he's one that's really come on with increased opportunity the last week here. I was pleased to see him make that play. He's had a chance to be around the ball a bunch the last few times out, and he's made some plays. And I know Jeff Manning's a guy that, we're really counting on at that free safety position. And, I know he had a nice coming, really just covered some ground, have a nice pass break. I'll be interested to see how he tackled today. And we sat out some guys that have really made some good strides, but, a lot of competition there. And, I think when we're talking playing really a 5 DB system, I think Coach Banks aims to have like 8 guys we can lean on. And we're close to that. It's an inexperienced group from a game perspective, game rep perspective, but, a group that's, I think in a good place right now, and they need to keep moving forward. But, I think has the ability to be a real, impactful group on our defense.
I know we talked about him a little bit, but overall, what'd you think of McKay out there today? I mean, he showed he could definitely run the ball a little bit, and he also made a couple decent. I know he started the game with that the deep ball downfield.
Yeah, Matt, it's hard when a good portion of your game is your ability to run the football. It's not only hard on Matt, it's hard on Coach Housewright calling plays. That one where everything's split, he probably takes that in if we were playing touch football with him. But, Matt's learning, he when you're a quarterback, every time you learn a new offense, it's almost like a reset. You might as well almost go back to square one. And, Matt's been really diligent as far as his willingness to learn, but it's really about the reps. Learning something in a classroom setting is one thing, and putting the time in watching film, but going through it is what it's all about. So there were some things. He took a delay of game on a fourth down that I didn't like today. I think there was some of those balls that were thrown up that he had. I think, we like to make those plays as well. So I think we got a guy that is a competitor, wants to be really good, emerging as a leader on our team, but I think he's got a capacity to keep growing, and I think he recognizes that too. So anxious to see Matt's improvement through the course of the summer, and we're going to be counting on him big, obviously, in the fall.
And then last one for me, obviously, I know you still need to go back and watch the film today, but just at first glance, anything that you feel like you guys need to work on in the next, or coming up in the next couple months?
Getting some guys back out there would be the first thing. I feel, we made it through today. No injuries. I know by and large our injuries are short-term. That's the biggest thing, but I appreciate some of those guys that did double duty today. I know, we're gonna watch it, and I would be certain, hey, we need to hang on the blocks a little bit more. We got to get off of blocks a little bit better. I think it's just our guys have to be real with where we're at. We have not accomplished anything yet. We've made some strides, and I think our guys recognize that. They haven't played in a long time, and we could say, yeah, we lost in the semifinals and we're ranked in the top 4 and 19, but really that doesn't matter. That doesn't mean anything. It's where we at today, and I think our guys have flipped the script and are focused on this fall, and so everything, Eddie, we can work on everything. That's the best answer. But we've made up a huge gap, I think, in where we're going, and look forward to a good hard work in summer right now.
All right, so I got. Thanks, Coach.
All right.
Colton Poole, what's on your mind?
Hey, Brent. So all I got essentially is just talk about the pass game. How did you feel that the quarterbacks overall did, and most of all, how do you feel like everyone is kind of getting used to the new system?
Oh, you know what? That's a good question, because, or how you just phrased that at the end. I think everybody's getting used to it, but we got to go through things, in the summer here. Those guys are going to put in some time with 7-on-7, and talk to them about, hey, the second time through things from a installation perspective, it'll feel different. There'll be a better recall, and then hopefully we get to fall camp, and that'll kind of serve as our third time through. Not that it'll be second nature, but we'll be closer to that, because we're a little off today. I think there's some little details. I think we know generally what we're trying to do, but as far as the absolute execution, it does take some time. It's a lot easier in a scenario like this to turn around and hand the ball off and really be further along on that side of it. But I think we're making strides, and I do think we got some guys we're competing against on the other side covering that are pretty good players too. So, work in progress, but I think we got some weapons out there, and I think we got a couple quarterbacks that can make some throws too.
And I'm sorry, I got an echo effect here in the press box. Just what is kind of the next step for them? You mentioned the summer. How do you go about trying to make sure that they make that next step during that time period? What are they specifically trying to do?
Yeah. Well, the first thing is learn from spring. You think about what we've done. You're installing an offense where you're watching Wyoming film, you might be watching some Oregon film, whatever, Mississippi State, combination of the three. Now you're watching yourself do it. There's one thing in you learn by doing, but then even watching yourself, watching with our players, I think is just a better way to ultimately learn, but you got to have a body work to do that. So that'll be the first thing to really analyze, and learn from the spring, and then apply what's being taught through the course of, the next couple months. And certainly there's a physical aspect that we can keep improving upon, but then there's that timing. Passing game is so much about timing, anticipation from a quarterback perspective. I think, receivers understanding, how to attack leverage and how to get open and those type of things. So again, we've kind of set a baseline, and the coaches will lay out, hey, here's what we need to do moving forward. And, you know, our hope is our guys really attack that.
And lastly, for me, you know, there certainly were moments of potential in that pass game, and you know, things that were just so far or so close to happening, like the McCutcheon pass at the very beginning. So, how close do you think you are to, you know, showing, you know, being where you want to be?
Well, that first pass to Lance is a good example. You know, I was kind of sitting, I had a good view of that, and it appeared to be a really good ball, and it was really Lance being just a little late with his eyes. I think, you know, and there's a little bit of a timing mechanism there, and him knowing when he should flash his eyes back, when he should find the ball. I thought he found the ball just a little late, and I think it was a pretty good throw. You know, some of it comes down to decision-making for sure. You know, I think I'm certain from a decision-making perspective as quarterbacks, you know, we weren't exactly on point today, and we'll keep getting better there. And then there was some protection issues as well. And I think the credit in some of those situations goes to the defense. If we're not getting after the quarterback defensively, we're going to have some trouble too. So again, just taking a good view of the body of work we have, and just, you know, recognizing where we can improve, and going about the steps to see that improvement, and really come back in August with, you know, a step forward taken through the summer. You can do that in the passing game. You can't necessarily do that in the run game. You don't want the guys out there throwing the pads on by themselves, coaching themselves all summer. That wouldn't be a real good thing, but you can work on passing. You can definitely get some things accomplished there in the summer, and we intend to do that.
All right. Thanks so much for the time, Brent. Appreciate it.
Alex Eshelman, how is it to be back inside? Everything good?
Woo! It was so fun watching the scrimmage today. It was so fun. But Coach, just one quick one for me. What'd you say to the guys after the scrimmage? You kind of got them all hyped up at one point, and it looked like a pretty good conversation.
Yeah, I think the general tone was, okay, we've come this far now, and let's recognize where we're at. Let's recognize the improvement. I think even just the understanding of where we're trying to go. I think getting to know players and coaches alike, we've come a long ways, but there's a long ways to go yet. And that's what I kind of wanted to illustrate to them, paint a picture, I guess, is, you know, teams are really, championship teams are really built in the summer. And we got that in front of us. So, you know, they're charged now with taking themselves individually and then as a team to another level, so that we, you know, we walk on that field in August a better team than we walked off it today.
Thank you, Coach.
Mm-hmm.
Ashley Washburn, do you have anything?
Just one quick one, because I think we touched on everything. But Coach, I got to ask what you thought of Jahari Martin's hurdle during the middle of the game. It was pretty cool, I will say.
Well, I just happened to walk by Garrett Becker, so he got a shot of it, photo, still shot. I said that's the worst play in college football or football in general when you try to hurdle, but it's the coolest, right? All in one. So big guy. It was impressive though. He's a big dude, and for him to be able to do that, and I think, you know, typically a big dude like him, he knows that guys are going to have to go low on him, and it worked in that sequence, but I wouldn't necessarily recommend it time after time.
No, definitely not. I did take a video of it, and it's on Twitter if you want to see the video part of it. So it was good though. Thanks, Coach.
Sounds good.
All right. Anyone need anything else? Okay. Thank you guys. And thanks, Coach, for jumping on.
Yeah, for sure. Thanks,
you
all.
Coach.
And I'm sure we'll be in touch.
Yep.
Thank you.
Thank you.